Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightbringers podcast, episode 21, where today we will be talking about Guild Wars 3. What if it was a thing and they're trying hard, but they're not trying hard enough, and I'm really good at doing intros. I hope you're all well live listening or on Spotify or wherever you are. I hate everyone on this podcast, other than the Crying Herald, who is awesome. Hello, Crying Herald. I hope you are well.
What did I do?
Hello, darling. You can't hear them, but they can torturing him.
They can hear you now. They can hear you now.
Oh, I have nothing to say now. No, I pretty much.
Now it's over. Now it's all gone.
I was a good boy. I did nothing wrong, and no one can say any different because there's no evidence.
That's the worst lie ever. That is literal lies.
I'll be a good boy.
Okay, let's move very quickly on from that. Let's just move on.
You did
It is Uwu
Why is it so dark
birthday
in here?
today, so.
Oh yeah.
You didn't.
Wait, whose
Thank
birthday?
you.
That's you. You're Uwu Kroof. I was just making a joke.
Thank
but actually,
you.
Proof, is it really your birthday?
It is.
Yes.
I was born on this day, April 12th, 2001.
Aww.
And now
my
it's
goodness.
2024.
You're
It's
a millennium
2024, Crave. Well done.
Wow.
Is it?
Wow.
I don't know. Is
So
that
you
good?
didn't experience Y2K in any way, shape, or form?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because
Wait.
that was a big thing.
No, yeah, you
But-
wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think even if I did, I think I would have been so small and not even a thought at that moment. So
Yeah.
just so teensy, so small.
Honestly, it was a big letdown, to be fair. Nothing
okay.
happened.
Well, I love being
You
let
wanted
down.
things to
So
happen?
I think like some calendars got broken somewhere. Other than that, it was like basically the world was going to be on fire, right, Boots?
That's right. Oh yeah, you want me to? Is that a cue? Am I supposed to sing the Fallout song now?
but you know what? I do remember
Missed the option.
2007 being a really good year. I think I was like in first grade or something, and I just remember always saying the year as 2007. And then I got to the next grade and no one would say and so like it really broke my worldview of how we actually communicate in dates. It's like 2024. It's not 2024.
That
And
makes sense. Yeah, that's rough.
yeah, I was like, I almost felt so embarrassed because I was like, oh, I guess I'm the problem. So
That was a good story about Guild Wars 2.
It's definitely something.
it was something.
No, I mean, Kroof, I'm so sorry you had that awkward experience when you were younger, and I hope that you know that it's okay. Like, if you want to put the and in there, like if we want to say 20 and 24, you can do that if you want.
We love and support you. You can do
20
whatever you
and
want,
24.
20 and 24.
20 and 24.
Well, I really gotta say thank you all for your support. And honestly, I said yes to doing this podcast today. I almost said no, but I was like, no, I want to spend it with my friends.
I mean, it's your birthday. Yeah, you would. Yeah, like I appreciate that. That's nice. I love that.
Everybody in chat, if you know Kroof's in-game account, send him birthday presents. Send all the presents.
Yeah.
over to Kroof
You would.
right
I mean,
now.
I was gonna say you would have gone. Or just say happy birthday in the comments. God damn.
Oh, that too.
Like, you can do
Yeah.
that. That's easy to do as
But-
well.
Send
I
Kroof
mean-
cold hard cash. You can
Hey,
there.
hit
Well,
me
you
up.
can go to their YouTube
Hit
and
me
do
up on
that.
the
I mean,
PayPal.
Real money trading.
You know.
what are you
hit me
saving
on
up
the
for? What
PayPal.
did you get for your birthday today? Truth.
I haven't gotten anything for myself yet. But later tonight, I'm going to go to West Hollywood, so I might get a drink.
Good idea.
And I am a very lightweight person, so I literally have like one drink, and I'm already like, I'm good for the night.
Okay, so
I'm
it's
good
got to
for
be a
the
good
night.
drink. Are you gonna go with something you've had before? Or are you gonna go for something completely new?
I think I'll just go with like a Bud Light. I'm just kidding.
No.
Jesus Christ. Get off my podcast.
Wow.
I know there's
Get
a
out
lot
of
of
here.
discussion
I
still
don't care
around
that it's your
Bud Light,
birthday. You
but-
do not deserve to
But
be here.
objectively, Bud Light is just a bad beer.
Also, if you
It
like
is
Bud
not.
Light and that's your thing, that's okay. We're not shaming you.
No, it's not.
But like, it's
kidding.
not.
Not okay.
It's not great. Let's be honest.
No.
Have
I
a
don't
Guinness
know.
at the very least.
I
Give me some
will.
iron proof. Iron.
I will
metal.
let my moment to moment decision making guide my beverage choice for tonight.
Have a nice little cocktail. Have like a fancy cocktail.
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna
think
be
so.
at a gay bar, so I think it's gonna be extra fruity. If you
Have
know
some
what I mean.
absinthe. Absinthe. Yeah, absinthe. Go for it.
Margaritas. Don't do absinthe.
Yeah,
don't
green.
Make him do
Get the
don't
green
make him
one.
take absinthe.
Yeah, absinthe. Have you never tried
like
absinthe before?
70%.
Tonight is the night, Croof.
Absinthe will make me absent.
Okay, the good news
Yes.
is though, I think in the States
You only
they
need
don't
one.
they don't allow absinthe with wormwood, so you won't see things. You won't see hallucinations.
Oh,
But
Absinthe is pretty hardcore.
it's still like 70% or something
Yeah.
like that in the States. So you'll be fun.
You can get 90%.
wow.
It doesn't
That's the
taste great
question.
though.
No, the idea is not the taste. It's not something
in
you
the-
sip. Sipping absinthe. Although probably back in the day.
Yeah.
They sipped
Do you
everything.
have the barman's reach? Do you have the barman's reach over there in the US?
Is
I think
that
so.
No, I've never
that a
heard of
euphemism?
that.
it's like the barman's
It's
reach around?
literally, it's everything the barman can reach.
Yes.
Oh, like in one drink.
Yeah, he turns round.
I think that's called a Long Island iced tea here.
Yes. Oh, I've never had one of those. Maybe I'll have one of those.
There you go.
I've heard they're good.
Okay.
Okay, Jebro, Mr. Guinness over here.
Yeah.
Drinking the coffee of
Guinness,
beer.
Give me some Guinness. I have an
But
absinthe.
Please stay
Or
hydrated.
actually,
Please stay
Jaeger and Coke
hydrated.
is good.
You're
Jaeger and
better.
Coke, that's nice. Like a good tequila and Coke. is nice.
I like tequila. I don't
We'll
often
do
drink.
maybe
so-
margarita or something.
Yeah. I feel like in LA, the margaritas that we get are oftentimes huge. So,
They should be. The amount they
You're only
charge
doing
for 'em.
one drink.
Jesus.
yeah, I guess, yeah.
They're expensive. Everything is expensive in America.
Yeah.
Do
Everything's
you have a
expensive
sweet
everywhere.
tooth?
I do tend to enjoy, I think, sweeter drinks more often, but I also really appreciate like drinks that taste like pure alcohol. Like a shot of tequila, I can do. I love the burn.
So I used to love when I drank. I used to love a Malibu and pineapple, and it's the sweetest thing in the world.
That is like very English.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
I used to
mean,
be.
come on.
Well,
North
yeah.
American
I mean,
version of that.
I used to
Might-
be a
well, no,
barman,
it
and
would
I'm
be a
like,
version of that,
and
but-
pineapple. It's a very student drink as well, Vonix.
You could do a pina
It's been a
colada
while.
if you like sweet stuff.
I have had a pina colada, and it was very good.
Yeah, they're fun.
I'll see what this bar is offering.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Report back afterwards.
And there will be a drag show there and a drag performance with
Oh,
one of the
good.
contestants on the current season of Drag Race. So it'll be like
that's cool.
really hype. So
Nice.
that'll be
Okay.
my birthday plans for tonight.
That sounds like a good plan.
Are you
Birthday.
still? Do you still? Are you still in contact with that the guy from?
The guy
Yes.
from the
Bryce,
Okay.
yeah, we message every so often. He's since moved away, and he's currently engaged to his fiance.
Wow.
But I believe we're gonna like get dinner next week or something. We'll see what our schedules are like, but yeah.
Look at that, everyone. We're all talking about good things happening in life. Okay, another good thing that's happening in life is these wonderful people have returned. If you can give me a little bit of an intro, that would be lovely. Boots, tell us what you do,
Hi.
where you do it.
I am Boots. You could find me at
Oh,
World of
God.
Vendors on YouTube, and
Yay.
I am almost done. I think I only have like 19 left.
Adventures?
Of the adventures, yeah.
So close.
I think I gotta do them pretty soon because I got the baby coming.
Ooh.
June. So I think I should try to get those all done before that happens because I don't know.
because it has been a second since I was with everybody. Has this been formally announced on the Lightbringers podcast?
think so.
I don't think so.
So
I think
this
that
is
was
the
it.
first announcement.
Not entirely. In my last adventures video, I do say it.
Okay.
Well, we're super.
We're going
excited
public
for
with the
you.
info.
Yeah, Boot's gonna be a dad. It's
Yeah.
happening.
Daddy Boots. He's the big
And-
boot.
Papa
You get
Boots.
mini boots.
Papa Boots.
Papa boots. And so yeah, no, and then I'll be done those, and then after that, I don't know. I'll see if I'll be able to have time to do anything after that.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah,
see.
you'll fit us in somewhere.
That
No,
is- oh my
no.
goodness,
Maybe.
that is suggestive.
You'll
We'll see you in about 6 months. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You'd be like, I can pop in for 30 minutes.
please say congratulations.
That's
Again,
what- yeah,
I want
that's what
happy
happened.
birthdays. I want happy baby days. I want whatever the thing is you say. Congratulations, that one.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that'll do. All the things. So another one. Right. I need news for the next person. Fornax, tell us what you do.
Life updates.
Oh my god, nothing is happening here. Everything is very peaceful. Hey, I'm Fornex on the Cryant Herald. I make content over on YouTube. I put out a video about the topic we're going to talk about today. Jeb is probably going to be showing a bit of it. It was kind of controversial. I touched the third rail of politics in the America lands. Don't mess with the capitalists. But
I
yeah,
do
it
want to
was
hear
fun.
about
had
this.
a
I don't know what you're
talk
talking about. You mentioned it
We
briefly, but you
will
didn't
be
describe
watching
what
it.
exactly happened.
We're going to watch it.
And I think we got to talk about this.
We're
because
gonna
I
watch
wanna
it
know.
and we're going to go through
kind
some of their
about
comments.
corporate culture. I wasn't
Oh.
kind about
I
corporate
mean,
culture.
Cryant
Yeah.
Herald was
People were defending
blatant.
corporate culture.
Well, corporate, like, well, the thing is, Fornax was just honest and truthful. I think that's the problem that people don't
It
like.
takes a
you know?
very special kind of person to go into a YouTube video chat and defend corporate culture.
Well, people do.
Have you
Which
been
is-
on the internet before? I mean, it's just wondering.
Okay.
It's actually, it was more pension holders who have shares who were quite hurt. But anyway, it's fine.
Really interesting.
Yeah, because look, I appreciate that people have pension funds, but guys, you have to invest wisely and morally, or you're just fueling the fires. So I'm sorry, guys. It is the truth. Come at me in the comments.
Yeah, might as well just do it here as well. Copy paste it.
My nuts have already been roasted. There's nothing left now. It's fine.
Happy Christmas.
Anyway,
And on that note,
Yeah.
proof.
that's my news. Roasted nuts and
Oh, congratulations! I'm
Wait,
so
what
happy
happened?
for you and you're not.
What happened? Wait, what did you do?
Delicious. Are they nice and toasty?
yeah,
Oh, okay, nuts.
roasted on an open fire. Yes.
Jack Frost nibbling at you. Sorry, go on. Proof.
Nibbling where? Where is he nibbling? Not my feet.
You'll have to wait until December
Before we continue,
25th for that one.
what can I do to not be a shadow on my screen right now?
Get a
some
light.
Yeah,
a
it's
light.
called lighting.
Have you thought of a candle? You could be like a Victorian child, be like, hello.
You're fine. Proof, tell us what you do, where you do it, and then Boots can get a light.
Hi everyone, my name's Kroof. I don't know if you know, but it's my birthday. I'm turning 43 today. 43. And I've been playing a lot of Dragon's Dogma 2 in my free time, and I've been collecting and recording all of that footage. So I'm going to be doing some videos on first impressions, and then when I beat the game, hopefully a full game review. But then I also do a bunch of Guild Wars 2 content over on YouTube. And I did make a video talking about this when it was like hot off the press and we didn't have all of the information that we have now. So it was more of a speculative video talking about, the possibilities of, a new game produced by ArenaNet. And yeah, it was very fun. The title was clickbaity, of course, kind of.
Kind
What
of.
was the title?
Guild Wars
It
3
was like
confirmed.
Guild 3,
Guild
like,
Wars 3 is
confirmed.
official. Nice.
Yeah. So
It is
I leaned
not.
into it a little bit. For the actual
not.
content of the video, we talked about how everything is kind of just like the whole cycle of production. Nothing is ever guaranteed in life, but yeah.
Should I title a video Guild Wars 3 confirmed?
No.
And then just do an adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think so.
Please go follow Kroof. YouTube.com/@Kroof or Kroof. Which one you want to go for? It's up to you.
Type it in the Google and see what comes up.
And that. Rookery, last but not least. Share yourself. With us.
Share yourself.
Hello. It's not my birthday. I don't have a child on the way. My nuts aren't roasted, but I am here. And no, thank you. I'm so happy to be back with everybody because it feels like it's been a million years. And to talk about this exciting news today. But if you are curious about me, you can find me playing a lot of MMORPGs, although I've been doing a little bit of single player. I've been playing through Final Fantasy IX for the first time, which has been a blast. As we, wait on news and have had.
Is Vivi your favorite?
Oh, it's tough. Probably Garnet, Vivi, and Freya are my favorites right now. But all the characters are so good, honestly.
How far into it are you?
We just started in on disc 3, so we're doing the card. Yeah, the card tournament in Treno. Does that tell you anything?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It's my first time though. It's been amazing. I've been actually blown away. It's probably one of my favorite JRPGs now. It's pretty
solid game.
It's a fantastic game, and I also returned to it like not too long ago, a few months ago, and I forgot how good it was, and just like it's like a really. It feels at first like you're doing a D&D adventure almost, you're a group of, a ramshackle group of D&D in a high fantasy kind of situation. Anyway.
Yeah, it does. No, it's incredible. I agree. Like, I genuinely been blown away. I've laughed. I've cried. Like, I keep thinking, like, this has to be it. And then there's still so much more game. So that really has been special. It's been fun to get to do that. And as always, if I'm not on my own channel, you can catch me doing a lot of shoutcasting stuff. There will be some stuff coming up. I have something this weekend as well for the Keystone Masters tournament that's happening. And yeah, on these lovely podcasts. So that's me, Rook, aka Rookery, ROOKURI on Twitch, YouTube. Yeah, Twitter. There's an underscore. That's it.
Awesome.
I feel like there should be exciting news to tack on the end.
You're back in the Lightbringers podcast. That's the exciting news.
Yeah.
Oh wait, how is the thing with the sun?
The eclipse.
Oh my gosh, it was
eclipse, yeah.
unbelievable. Like so we got to see full totality where we were, and we went out. We were lucky enough. We have some friends who have connections to this vineyard in Indiana. So we were out in the vineyard, and it was like full 360-degree view, so you could see the entire horizon around, and it was genuinely one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. I did not think that there would be such a difference between the full totality or like anything else that I'd seen with pictures of it or stuff, but it really was the closest I think I have ever come to witnessing something just. It's so hard to put words to. Well, like divine, miraculous, like awe-inspiring. It was incredible. Yeah. The actual eclipse itself. When you like pull down the glasses at full totality, if you're in areas where you can, it looked like it was huge in the sky for one, and then the actual kind of like sun rays coming off of it had all gone kind of silver white blue, and they were in all these layers just like radiating out, and the whole dome of the sky goes dark, and you can see the stars like as clear as if it's the middle of the night, and then all around the edge of the horizon, because you're in a giant shadow, it looks like sunset is happening. And we were out in nature, so all the animals went quiet. Bugs started flying upside down. Like, it was wild. Like, it was the weirdest thing. And this hush just falls over everything. So it was incredible. I would definitely say if anybody has a chance, there's going to be some in Europe and things like that in your lifetime to go see it. Let me just say it's worth it. I wasn't sure, but it's worth it to try and do full totality.
So I was at 80% totality, and the sky turned a little yellow.
Ooh.
Wow.
I went to one when I was 16 on a rugby field in Cornwall, and it was the total one. And when I saw that when you're 16, you're a teenager, it was like wild. It was just with my mates camping on a rugby field, rugby club over there. And it was like during the day. I think it was the morning. I can't remember what time it was. And then you just go outside, and it's like we just went all the way there just for this one thing, and then just like. And it was over. But yeah, it is beautiful. If you can ever go and see something like that, it is.
I definitely had one when I was like 8 years old, and I don't think I appreciated it like I would have if I had seen it now. Speaking of which, 2 years from now, it's happening in Iceland, and Iceland's a beautiful place to visit if you haven't been there already. I recommend we all go together. I'm hoping, you know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping that when the total eclipse happens, the northern lights, the aurora borealis, become visible at the same time.
Oh my god.
That would be like,
Wouldn't that be amazing?
screw drugs.
Oh,
Just experience that.
Seriously.
Okay, we're gonna go to talk about Guild Wars 2. But also, if you do want to check out the podcast and listen to banter and awesome explanations and talks about things such as eclipses and nuts, then twitch.tv/JebroUni on a Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, about 8 p.m. or so GMT. Every other week, mostly. We had a couple of weeks break, but talking about Guild Wars 2. Also youtube.com/JebroUnit if you want to check out the podcast there. It's on Spotify, it's on Google, it's on all the things. Please check out our lovely people here as well. In the description. Whatever.
You said that so fast.
In the description there will be links to purchase the expansions should you want to, which supports a lot of them, as well as myself, and also their links to their channels. So please go and check them out because that'd be massively appreciated. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Guild Wars free quotations. I'm doing that. No one can see that on Spotify, but I'm doing that with my fingers. And again, they can't see that. Quotations. Which was kind of not really announced, but more like kind of in a shareholders meeting. I'm going to let the Crichton Herald just talk about that in their video, which I'm going to show in a moment. And that will be linked as well. So just in case you want to go and see that and check that out. But just as a kind of overarching goal of what we're talking about today is just like if you know what Marvel does this thing where it's like, you know, Marvel What If series, like in comic books and TV shows and stuff. And it's like, what if, you know, there was this thing that happened? What if, you know, Captain America was not a dude? right? And it's like, what if Guild Wars 3? And actually, you know, Guild Wars 3 could probably happen and might be happening. But we've had no confirmation of that. Just that they're focused on the immediate future.
You don't trust that guy? That one guy?
Yeah, actually I do.
Yeah,
John, isn't
That
it?
one guy who's got himself up shit creek without a paddle. No, yeah, I definitely trust that guy. Yeah.
Jonathan, you are cursed forever. We're gonna show the video and we're gonna not talk during it. So Crichton Herald can kind of discuss. And there might be, you know, there's some deep learning here from Fornax as well. It's very good. Also very funny. So we're gonna be watching this for about 7 minutes and we'll come back. We're here reacting and looking and stuff, so we're kind of here. So I'm gonna play that. Is that all right, Fornax? You are okay with this still, aren't you?
You want to play it all? Okay, go.
I'm gonna play it all, yeah.
Oh,
It's great.
your mileage may vary.
What should we do while it's playing?
And
Should we
Bruce
just,
is just gonna like talk.
Find a candle.
Bruce is just gonna talk
Find
the
the
whole time.
light.
we could, yeah, hold on. Yeah, I'll go find a light.
Well,
I'll be back.
yeah, you can do that. It's important everyone listen to this because it gives us a good idea of what happened. And it's not going to be, and we might not listen to the whole thing because it's 7 minutes, but like just the main gist to give everyone a bit of idea. Because I like the way it was explained, okay? Also, it means I can have a drink of coffee.
Settled since the breaking news that Guild Wars 3 was a distinct possibility. I want to survey the landscape, share with you what we know, what's been confirmed, and my thoughts on the situation. Now, I am, as ever, a day late and $1 short to all these breaking news, clickbaity stuff, but there's a reason for that. I'm worried about misinformation. I don't want to say things and react to things which are untrue and disappoint you, so please forgive my late arrival to this conversation. And for anyone who's unaware of the situation, here is a TLDR of what transpired on the 28th of March. It was revealed in a shareholder meeting of NCSoft, the parent company of ArenaNet, that Guild Wars 3 is in the planning stages, and people on the internets, content creators and fans alike, were joyous and sad and worried and interested about this revelation. I heard the news on the day that it dropped, and I tempered my expectations heavily because this is a shareholder meeting, so this is about money, future money for a big corporation, and shareholders, if you're blissfully and joyfully ignorant of the business world, shareholders are the global ticks of our society. But unlike natural ticks, when they've swelled enough with blood, they drop off. Shareholders, they don't. They're like black holes, but they don't even have Hawking radiation. They are a black hole for money, they're a black hole for morals. Any kind of movement in fossil fuel industry trying to go into a different direction has been stymied by activist shareholders and their profit incentives. The same shareholders.
I'm going to pause it there because that's just brilliant. Sorry, it's so good. I'm just like, I think you've got to give props and credit to Fornax just for that. Like just the good rounding sum up of like.
You went hard, Fornax. You went hard.
You read them down. You read them.
Fornax reading them for filth.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm never going to be employed again.
Such creative analogies, Mandela says. I love it. Oh, amazing. It's just so good. I just remember like sitting here when I was watching it last night. I was just like, I have to play this during the podcast. This is too good. This is too great. This needs to be heard everywhere. I'm going to continue it for a bit.
Sorry.
That hold
No, you're
shares in
good.
big oil and big gas often hold shares in big, booming global market for gaming, and NCSoft is one of the larger firms. So I took this with a gigantic mound of salt because this is just an exercise to lubricate the corporate wheels and keep shareholders happy and fluffed. One thing to say something to shareholders to pretend that profits are always going to go up in a world of infinite pyramid scheme growth. But the reality on the ground is very different. So I wanted to see what ArenaNet had to say, and this is their official statement about Guild Wars 3. As an active game studio, we are always doing internal, exploratory work for possible future titles we'd want to create. However, we have nothing to confirm right now. The team's focus is on Guild Wars 2 development, including the game's next expansion, which we're excited to talk about soon. So,
Basically, that. I thought that was just a very good like cross line through like anything that's kind of been mentioned, and then their kind of statement on mmorpg.com, which you can see as well. I can put the link in the description. Maybe I'll do that. Was just a very succinct. We don't even know. I don't think it was from anyone specific. I think it was just the PR team, maybe, or just like a response, right?
It was on MMORPG, so that was all we got. There was no other information about the statement that was given that I could find.
No.
And a lot of people in the comments were like, well, you haven't really said anything. And I'm like, well, I literally, there's nothing happened. A person has said something. A person who's having problems in his executive position has thrown something onto the fire to see if it will catch, and the studio obviously would never want to announce Guild Wars 3 if it is a thing like that. I mean, that's a complete disaster. They've completely thrown the studio under the bus, and yeah, it's a bit of a shit show. So what do you say? The only thing, I mean, I go on to talk about what we can do as a community to respond to this, and talk about how what we would like to see in Guild Wars 3 if it were in production, and also kind of like pouring water on people who think that Guild Wars 2 is dead now. It takes 6 years at least to get an MMO going, and if it's just in development, so
Well, that might be a good. That might be a good place to stop, and then you can, because you're kind of saying what you said anyway, so that's good, and we can continue doing that.
Based on the development time of Guild Wars 2, when it was announced even to when they released it, not when they started working on it to when they released it, that was 6 years. And so based on that, if Guild Wars 3 is in development, I'm looking forward to it being one of the first video games that my daughter will play. when she's 6 years old.
Oh yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's actually very true.
That's such a different path you went down that I was not expecting at all. I was like, that's heartfelt and touching.
Yeah. And what is the first content you'll take her through, Boots?
Raids.
Honestly, not far off.
Right
Luke
on
said
PvP.
his daughter do
Not-
adventures? That would be so
not
cute.
far off as to what I did when I was like 10 playing WoW.
Yeah,
It's
and I was
amazing.
I played WoW. Raids.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
Alright.
I mean,
I mean, it could be
I
even
think-
longer.
it could.
Oh,
I
oh,
think
yeah,
that's
it will
the
be.
thing.
Throne and Liberty, right? Throne and Liberty is just coming out
12
now, and
years?
it's 10 years.
10
Is
years.
it 12?
I might be close. It might be
Yeah.
close to 12.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
Mark,
won't
I didn't mean to
lie.
interrupt.
Oh no, please, please. I mean, like, I won't lie. I was definitely right there with everybody where when this news came out, right, especially too, because so many of us were hearing about it, literally playing an international game of telephone in various ways, right? Where we're getting like a translation of a thing that was said by somebody at a shareholders meeting that's getting passed between the regions. And so, of course, I think just like you said in your video, Fornax, many of us were kind of just like waiting to see, taking it with a grain of salt. Maybe it was just not even translated correctly, right? And as it was more confirmed, although of course ArenaNet's stance, as you kind of covered in that video, right, is that like there's no huge public announcement or anything about this. And in the stuff that kind of came out afterwards, it seems like it's so early on. So like even to the point where whether or not there's even a team conceptualizing it is like a question mark, right? So we don't really know how long it is, but I was there with everybody in that the reaction, the immediacy that you feel when something like this comes out, especially when the community for years has been like Guild Wars 3, Guild Wars 3. And when you have that kind of pressure on it, I think that having something even confirmed like this in this kind of roundabout way really did spark a lot in the community. And for some, it'll feel like, hey, maybe this is the thing that gets me really excited about the game again. And if they kind of had fallen off, or if it had been a little while, or, you know, maybe it's something that makes you feel a little bit disheartened. And I think for me, it was a little bit of that, in that I was just like, wait, but hold on, we just switched to this new expansion format. We've been getting regular content. I was really hoping they'd be putting their eggs in that basket moving forward. But as I kind of like unraveled a lot of this initial emotion with a lot of other people, I think everybody kind of took their different journeys through it. But as it is, right, we still have many years. We have an entire chapter of our lives ahead before this game comes out, most likely.
Yeah, it's not a And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about if there was a Guild Wars 3, what could it look like? And just for fun, we're just having fun with it today, peeps. So like, we're not raining down on the parade of Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is very much here, and there's expansions to come, right? It's not just, they've talked about the next couple in a roundabout way, like insinuating that there's more to come as well. So we are going to be talking about like the fun side, the kind of, what would it look like? What would would they do it the same way? What would be a fun thing to do? Could it look like another MMORPG, or could it look like something completely different? And just kind of going off that and just bantering about that for a while, because I thought it would be fun. Just come back, be creative.
I would say that there's nothing to say that you couldn't have Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3 running concurrently. If you look at World of Warcraft at the moment, they've kind of rewritten this. Actually, they've ripped up the script and threw it out the window with classic WoW and all the different iterations that they're doing. They're running this whole new like pirate gauntlet at the moment. They're just really having fun with this gigantic monster that they have created. And so I feel like it might be a distinct possibility. What I think a lot of the people who left comments on the video said was that it's like the sunk cost fallacy. They've committed so much resources and time into Guild Wars 2, and I reminded people in the video that there was a kind of similar feeling for the community when Guild Wars 2 was announced, and they actually introduced the Hall of Monuments. So that might be something we want to talk about as well. What possible rewards and titles and things that they could give to veteran players who are shifting or deciding to play both games of Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3, if it is indeed a thing.
Yeah, that whole concept of permanency and feeling as if something needs to carry over, or just the fear of something ending in general, is extremely interesting with Guild Wars in particular, because of that transition from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, and then in this hypothetical, Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3. I don't know if there are really other MMOs that have had sequels to that like standalone product. Like there's no WoW 2, there's no like, I guess Final Fantasy was shut down and then was, you know, reborn into that.
Well, Final
new
Fantasy
era.
had a MMORPG technically before.
11, yeah. 11 to 1.0, 11 to 14 1.0, 14 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and there's been some like, there's not been like actual sequels where I think the same company have made the same game, like Star Wars Galactic.
There is a
one,
difference.
and, yeah.
There's a difference between Guild Wars to Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3, just in that even though there was a good amount of content in Guild Wars, in reality, you don't really realize it, but all the expansions and the game released within 2 years of each other.
Yeah, it was a short time frame.
2005, and then was when Prophecies came out, and then 2007 is when Eye of the North came out. And of course, you had like the living world type stuff inside of after Eye of the North, but yeah. So 2 years is when all of their major content came out. But in Guild Wars 2, it's over the course of now 11 years, 12 years. It'll probably go on till 14, 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
So a bit of a difference.
So let's talk, and again, I kind of just want to say that, you know, comments welcome as well. Tell us what you think. What would you like to see from Guild Wars 3? Also, in the chat, give us your thoughts. What would you like to see? And something I want to say to Tegus, which was a good point. And they say, yeah, I was like, why should I keep playing if they're going to have a new game? And I think that is the biggest concern I would have if I was reading that with that message. That is the message of bollocks. Is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
We have had this game out for more than 10 years. You have got your money's worth. You will get your money's worth for another at least 5 or 6 years, and it's very unlikely that the game will ever just be closed. And when it does close, it will probably be in like 10 or 20 years or something stupid. And it's totally valid that people are worried that they're, you know, that they've spent so much time and money and stuff on this experience, but it's like anything in life. You do that in life all the time. Things begin, things end. It's called movement. It's called life. It's just another part of that. And people do get very like, you know, they deal with endings very differently. And I could go into the psychological part of that as well if you want to. But like, you know, that's another podcast probably. So that's got a lot to do with it as well, and change is a big thing that people aren't really comfortable with.
Hey,
but,
you know what? Tegus has a very good point. They ask, "Can I have my characters transfer over?" You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Now with the metaverse, who knows what's possible? You know, we could
With the metaverse, with AI structures and just the rapid growth of technology,
anything's possible.
you might be able to transfer into the game.
I mean, they did the Hall of Monuments, right? Which was like a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something like, if it's going to be an MMO, if a Guild Wars 3 was going to be an MMORPG, they could transfer things over probably. It really depends, you know. It's just one of those things. So maybe like that could be the start of the discussion, right? A Guild Wars 3. What would a Guild Wars 3 be? Would it be an MMORPG? Would it be?
I'd have to guess yes, just because if it's being developed by ArenaNet, and ArenaNet, I think one of their greatest strengths is their infrastructure for the MMO genre, like the servers, the way it all works, just their knowledge and expertise in setting up and running an MMO. It would be unlikely that they don't have MMO components, at least in any game they make.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's my first answer would probably be some type of social-based game, be it more akin to the classic Guild Wars 1, where it was social, you would see other players, but it wasn't necessarily to the degree of an MMORPG to like modern day standards. It could, you know, mimic that, or it could go even further into that open world socialness that Guild Wars 2 does have, but not as open as something like World of Warcraft, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they would take it back from where it is. You know what I mean? Like, with how it has kind of developed, and the game obviously has pushed into the MMORPG sphere, it really feels, to me at least personally, like while there are things on the market that maybe are a little bit closer in style to what Guild Wars 1 was, like Destiny 2 or Warframe, in the sense that like it is an MMO and that there are hubs and things where you can congregate, but then you go out in smaller groups to do missions. That's like the main kind of takeaway. There's, maybe in a few of those games there are some open world zones. So there is a market that has something like that out there, but it feels like with them coming off of Guild Wars 2 and having decidedly evolved into this MMORPG kind of sphere, that I would be incredibly surprised if they didn't develop an MMORPG. Like I think they probably will stick with that. And if anything, might be looking to more cleanly and clearly solidify what they consider an MMORPG to offer right from the get-go, based off of what they've taken away from 2,
But it is a good question, because what are the driving factors to wanting to develop a Guild Wars 3 rather than just continuing to develop a Guild Wars 2? I'm sure they're going to develop Guild Wars 2 concurrently with Guild Wars 3, but why would you say, okay, let's also make a Guild Wars 3 now? The only reason would be is if they want to make something slightly different, or different in more than just a slight way.
Is it always something different though, or is this something more like, modern?
Updated? So yeah, because a lot of the time, so if you keep on going back on Guild Wars 2's like job search website, many times it asks for people who know how to work with Unreal Engine.
Yes.
So we could, I guess, assume that Guild Wars 3, if it's being developed, is going to be based on Unreal Engine, and so probably also intermixed with the server architecture that they have. So
which is Amazon, right?
Is it Amazon? Yeah, that would make sense. Almost everything's
I think
Amazon.
so. I've heard that. I've heard that before.
Amazon servers, right?
Yeah.
Let me have a look at this.
I think in terms of longevity with technology, the reason to make something different could possibly be just the modern element of marketing a modern game and reintroducing yourself to a modern gaming market as well. Because I believe, like with Guild Wars 1, I have the North era, they had these expectations and they wanted to do stuff, but they found it limited, and so they decided to shift into making a whole nother game to Guild Wars 2. I think that was one of the comments, not the only reason, but starting a whole new project allows you to tackle and grow in areas that an existing game might not allow you to.
Yeah,
and
there
I
are
think
definitely limitations with the Guild Wars 2 engine.
Yes.
Because that, I think, also was just built up off of the Guild Wars 1 engine.
Heavily modified, as I believe some developers
Which wasn't even a 3D engine, lest we forget.
Yeah, you couldn't jump.
How it works is wild. I've watched videos about it. It's crazy. It's a deep dive. Yeah,
the deep iceberg of Guild Wars.
Yeah, I just feel like they're chafing at the bit to actually have a modern engine. I feel like we can feel the constraints of the engine now, and I also think it's to do with aesthetics as well. If you've seen any of the Stellar Blade stuff, I mean, boobs aside, the character creation is just glorious, and we just don't have that depth, and they don't have the capacity to give that depth.
No.
Is there a boob scroller?
Like there are many scrollers, darling.
Which this is like the standard in most any game where you can create character now. It's wild. Even in solo single player experiences, you're getting a lot more customization than you can in MMORPGs. Like, I mean,
how do you know though? Guild Wars 2 character creation is, except for the face, deeper than Baldur's Gate 3.
Hey,
Hey?
True.
Mm-hmm.
can I pick my peen?
Of course you
the
went
important
there.
questions.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I think that newness is a huge element, and even from a worker's perspective, having little to no knowledge about this, I imagine more modern engines and more modern teachings when you're starting a completely new project is perhaps easier to work with, and then you learn the mistakes in the past and have better structure. So as an employee, you are better able to work with it, because I've heard that Guild Wars 2's spaghetti code and just, being unable to actually go back and touch dungeons due to
Yeah.
whatever reasons might be. Structure.
So you think it's just a coding thing? It's just a modernizing new Sheen, being able to re-release, and the fact that it's difficult to
Just
work with.
remember, we're
Wars
talking
convention.
hypotheticals here. If,
Yeah.
if-
I know, but
if-
I
if-
honestly
if-
think that it is all that. That is all very important things. But I think there's I think there's a lessons learned situation, and moving forward with a new game with new ideas rather than
Oh yeah,
just
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, I think that's makes
I think when going into a new project, you have to approach it with that element of newness to really sell something different, because then you just fall into.
That would suck
then-
if you just
then
when
you
did
would
the
just-
offering.
Well, I don't know. The NHL 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, to 2024, it has been going pretty well.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
sports game. It's not much else you could
I
do.
feel like I
guess.
feel like there's so many angles to this, right? Like, we've even talked about how much I think Guild Wars 2 has evolved in the time that it's existed, and of course it's done things that have been kind of different. It's kind of done things in its own way, which took them a little bit longer, I think, to formulate and figure out. And as we kind of see this resurgence in the MMO landscape, where I really think personally we're heading into another like big era for MMORPGs as technology has just expanded, and as we're coming out of things like the pandemic and people are more interested in games that you can play together and all that kind of stuff. I think that we've seen a lot of interest. So on one hand, I feel like them wanting to kind of start fresh, even like we've discussed. Well, oh man, I wish that they could kind of come up with like consistent content all the way through, or I wish that there were ways that they had tied all of this together, or I wish that they hadn't like, added some things in, or then, over time had to drop them. That will always happen in any MMO, but I think especially with Guild Wars 2, because it was sort of experimental in the rest of the MMORPG landscape. I think there's a lot that they've kind of honed in on how they want to do things their way. So something like Guild Wars 3 could be great. Of course, they could be totally different teams. They could decide not to take anything away from Guild Wars 2 if the investors are like really pushing for a different angle on this. And another big part of it that I think is important to talk about outside of just even maybe we could see them implement things that they really want to do. Maybe we could have new graphics. Maybe we could have expanded CC. Maybe we could have all these other things that, starting fresh in the game would be a really good basis to bring together in one big complete package. The other aspect is that, as was said at the shareholder meeting, and as it seemed like he was kind of discussing, Guild Wars 2 does not earn a big profit for surprising nobody. It does not earn a big profit.
Yeah.
And he, at least in some of the translated stuff that I've seen talking about this, he was discussing the fact that even though he was saying that there was not a big profit threshold from this game, that he felt it was competitive in the market and it still had numbers to show that, it was standing up there alongside other games and had value. And this was like a point that he emphasized several times. And I couldn't help but think Guild Wars 3 might also be an opportunity for them to take something that is promising but not turning a profit and look more at turning a profit. Now, whether that's good or bad, I think that's definitely something big to discuss with the community and with everything else. But the fact that like a whole new game would give them a place to say, hey, there's an unpaid and a subscription version of this game.
Maybe.
I mean, part of me is a little apprehensive because I think Guild Wars 2 has been so affordable, but part of me is also like, if that means that they're able
Money.
to have a whole studio that's like really well supported with enough staff and all kinds of content, and like, then great. Like maybe that
Wouldn't that be amazing if they use Guild Wars 3 as the cash cow, and then Guild Wars 2 becomes the passion project that all the fun all the fun devs get to work on?
This is like some 5D chess. This is like
Yeah.
intricacies of studios and
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I was gonna say, so an interesting. You bring up that talk that where it got revealed in, and unless I'm wrong, didn't they also mention that NCSoft West, which I guess is the publisher for Guild Wars 2 at this time, got conglomerated? Like all of the North American offices of NCSoft West got put together, and now it's basically ArenaNet is that, right?
Yes, they have been absorbed into one entity. So I don't believe there's any more NC West and ArenaNet. I believe it's mostly just ArenaNet. There might be some remnants of an NC West,
And
kind
they
of being
also said-
finalized. I don't know.
Something along the lines of it's been running on a deficit for a while.
I believe it was like NC West. I don't know in terms of time frames if they were referring to like years past, and that's why they just kind of went into one entity.
And now it's not
Or-
on a deficit necessarily, or
I want to pull us back to the topic of what we're talking about today, because I don't want to go into like stuff we don't necessarily know 100% about, because I'm worried about like.
well, I mean that does
don't-
sound like that. All that put together does sound like a reason to make a Guild Wars 3.
We're talking
Yeah.
about what it would be. That's the question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not the finances of ArenaNet and NCSoft.
Yeah, it's not unrealistic profit pumping
What
of
Rookery
games that
is
get
saying-
dumped into the bin
Yes,
like
yes,
EA
yes.
and things
What
like that.
Rookery is saying
Bedbug,
was
leeches
more
of-
about the structure. I think of the idea that they could make more money in terms of like the model of what it's going to be. So the model of, is it subscription? Is it all of these different things? And
Yeah.
definitely something we can talk about. I kind of want it. We're good with the MMORPG. I think that would. I agree. I actually think that's a solid idea. I think they should do it. I think at least optional. I think with the ethos of the studio, I don't think they will. I think they should have an optional sub or something. I don't know what for, but we can discuss that in the future.
I mean,
But
I think an
yeah.
optional sub is less good for a game than a non-optional sub. I don't know.
Wait, what?
I'm saying that very quickly
Based
without
on-
thinking about it.
I do that all the time. It's okay.
Just let me think about it for a sec.
based
No,
on
I see what-
vibes,
So this is the reason
it's a
I'm saying
vibe check,
that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
This is the vibe
because it
check,
creates a tier system within the game and the players, right? And then the devs have to constantly decide between what normal players get and what the premium players get, and I feel like
Yeah.
that
It's not that
unhealthy
difficult.
for a
Many
game.
games do it. It's
I know,
all
but I think it's
cosmetics.
unhealthy for a game.
No.
I really do.
It's really
Anyway,
healthy.
continue.
I see what you're
It's
saying
opposite.
because
It's
when
options.
someone just allows you, or when a game goes with a pure subscription-based system, you know what you are getting into, and it feels like that commitment from a studio, they themselves are committing to that. It does feel a little bit more comforting rather than having something like Rift, where you have a premium option and a
Well, that's
non-premium
pay
option.
to win arsery, which
Well, that's
destroyed
kind
the
of what
game.
happens in terms of what players get and what certain premium players get and what other
ESO
players
doesn't.
don't get.
ESO doesn't do that, and has
ESO
earned
does it
$9
very
billion
well.
in its in its existence so far. So I think they're doing something right with their monetization. It's an option
But I can
sub.
see why some people would have a more questioning reaction.
Oh, for
to
sure,
that.
for
I
sure.
don't
I
think
think
ArenaNet would ever do that. I don't think ArenaNet would
I think
ever
it's a
do
No.
bad
that. I
idea
think
to
they have
not.
too much
No.
I think
integrity.
it's a bad
to be
idea
honest.
to not, but anyhow, yeah, Rift got sold for $35,000 or something, 25,000.
$1,000?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, something like that.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it was that bad. That's where it got to. They went from being groundbreaking, creating games that crossed over with television series on sci-fi to being sold for $25K to Gamer Go or whatever the flip it's called. It was pretty
So
bad.
I could have bought Rift.
Someone can, you
Wow.
can maybe, yeah.
And whoever bought Rift now
It was Game Guarantee.
sue anybody who used Rifts in their game.
Anyway,
They got a lot of,
Guild Wars 2,
people to
an
go after.
MMORPG. We're pretty good, pretty much agreeing on the MMORPG part, right?
And I mean, with a modern engine, and they could really revolutionize that cash shop and make like some beautiful ass mounts and like great
ass
skins.
mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that we can go into more details now. So,
You want to go into details about ass mounts, Jebro?
Ass
I mean, not massively. So one
So
thing.
you want a small ass mount, not a massive ass mount?
One thing is
I'm
like
not letting this go.
with a Guild Wars 3, you're not apparently. With a Guild Wars 3, like when you think about is it going to be an MMORPG? Probably yes. Then you think, what are the kind of basic things that form an MMORPG, right? So you've got a storyline, you've got all your races, you've got the world, you've got when it's going to take place in timeline.
Combat system.
Did you know that there was an
Questing.
MMORPG that didn't have different races back in the day?
There's still
Yes.
MMORPGs
Called
that don't.
Guild Wars.
It's called
Yes.
Guild Wars.
I was like, what?
Or if they did,
Yeah.
like they would,
Wizard
they would
101.
have. Would they have the same races or would they have different races?
They'd have to have different. They'd have to start
yeah.
differently.
Honestly, you guys are
Tengu.
all silly because we all know what Guild Wars
Uh-huh.
3 is going to be.
Space.
Oh.
Yes.
Outside.
Unless
Guild Wars
they pull
2
the.
in space.
But you know what? I guess we can talk about the hypothetical of where we would want this new game set, because Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2 was a 250 years in the future.
Syria is just a very small part of the Eternal Alchemy of the world of Tyria, of the world of Guild Wars, and the Mists are a big place, I think.
So
I think-
what are you saying, Boots?
Would you want it to be in the future?
I'm saying it's Guild Wars in space is
It's
what's
gonna
going
be
to
a long
happen.
show, everyone.
Guild Wars 3. What's going to happen is they're going to explore further the very strong semblance and link that it has to Magic the Gathering as a lore structure. And there will be the idea of planeswalkers brought into Guild Wars 2.
Okay, who's next?
More strongly. And
What are you talking
how
about,
the gods are essentially, the human gods are essentially planeswalkers. And
Take my money.
yeah,
I'm into that.
yeah, and Guild Wars 2 in space.
Interesting.
Every time you say that, I literally just imagine like a NASA rocket ship with like a char clinging on to the very like outside of it. And it doesn't, I don't like that in my brain, but I like this image you're painting.
Okay, good. Although I do like that image you just said. I do like that image as well.
I mean, other than us going to space, which obviously is going to happen, clearly, I am curious about whether or not whether they would do a time skip like they did with Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3. Part of me maybe go way back in the past, which would also be really interesting.
I'm done with dragons, to be fair.
But
But yeah, I hope there isn't, personally, I guess, I hope there isn't a massive time skip. At least the impression that I kind of get and the feel that I get from the community and things like that. This is just my little corner of the world, though. So, let me be clear about that. Other people might feel really differently. I think there is a real concern, like we brought up earlier, about the feeling of continuity, whether that's what can I bring over from my characters to, what can I invest in this world? And should I still be investing in the world that, is here currently for the next 6 to 10 years until we get a Guild Wars 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I mean, we saw them kind of do this with Eye of the North with Guild Wars 1 into Guild Wars 2, although of course there was a considerable time skip. But having things like that hall that did allow you to work towards stuff that then you could bring over into Guild Wars 3, or, even having something like a story continuity where it doesn't have to be like so perfectly a throughput that, new players coming into the Guild Wars universe for the first time feel as though they had to play Guild Wars 2 to enjoy Guild Wars 3. but I think having something that still makes the world feel like what we're doing in it now matters, as opposed to, you know, like it's 1,000 years in the future and everything, you know, it might be kind of fun to see how it's wildly different, but at the same time might also feel completely separated.
In which case going back in time also doesn't make sense, right? Because you don't want to time skip backwards to, like, oh, why does it matter? We already know what happens in the future. Yeah.
Could be.
Essentially.
I mean, so they did it with SWTOR, didn't they? They went back to the height,
and
they've done it with VSO as well.
Yeah, they say VSO.
Very well.
SWTOR definitely still doing great.
And that hurts. That's painful.
What's still doing great?
SWTOR.
SWTOR has actually come back for a lot of folks. Another company's like producing it and making expansions, and it got a lot of love recently.
I was thinking.
Great, but you know.
Sorry.
Good for them.
No, go on for next.
Sorry. We do love SWTOR. I was just thinking that a lot of people have been complaining that there isn't a lot of guild wars in Guild Wars, and of course the name derives from a period in history where there were warring human factions of guilds who literally were tearing each other apart with the gifts of the gods, with the Promethean gift of magic, which Abaddon gave to him. And that is the kind of the fire that, and King Doric going to the gods and requesting that magic be taken away was like the inciting incident and why the gods fell. And there's a whole like huge amount of fantastic, bombastic lore about it. I would like to I would like to explore that era. I don't know that we necessarily need to base it
just be a fractal.
An entire world. And it needs. They have so much potential with the Mist to explore any point in history. We've seen like in Path of Fire, we had like literally like events crashing into the world from different eras with an Orion battle between the Char and the humans that were just replaying. So we can go and visit these things. So they have an opportunity. But I mean, there's some things. I trust them that they're going to give us an interesting story, but there are some things that I want to see that are very different to how Guild Wars is. For example, a real feeling of an open world. As much as I like the maps that we have, I hate the fact that they're in little squares on the map and there's load screen and load screen and load screen. And I would like to feel like we're in a big, real living world. And I also liked the like interesting verticality that we got and the depth with Tangled Depths. And I would like to have like layered maps. So you have like an aerial zone, you know, like the canopy, then you have the terrestrial ground, and then subterranean and aquatic zones, and really like lean into the technology that we have nowadays in Engine 5.
Is that a limitation of the ArenaNet engine? Because in Guild Wars 1, it was instanced. Basically, you had your group, you went into an instance content. In this, it's technically instance as well, but it's instance maps where you could have a limited amount of people in, maybe 100, 150. The benefits we get from that infrastructure, like no downtimes, basically you could just update on the fly. Are the limitations from that? Yeah, like are the benefits that we're reaping from that? Do we have the drawback of not having the ability to have a large map with all of the population of the game of a world on it at the same time?
Well, that's why they've been historically breaking up. That's why there's 3 lanes or 4 lanes on Dragon's because they can't. It falls over. I mean, you've seen what happens in World v. World. I mean, it's like stop frame animation. So
how do the other MMOs do it?
They don't. Not many do now. Other than maybe World of Warcraft, but like, you know,
like how does World of Warcraft do it?
They've got a server with a certain amount of players. It's a server. True. They don't have
server
mega
systems.
servers. They have actual servers. Like New World has servers, so their whole world is open.
And how many people? Let's say
3,000 on New World servers.
3,000. Could they play concurrently? Oh, that's true. You have the queue time.
Yeah. It got put up by 1,000. So that is why they do the instance. I believe, again, I don't know all of this, and this is why I kind of veer away from this conversation when we're doing this kind of stuff. But like, you know, in terms of the open world stuff, they'd have to then bring back servers, and I think they're moving away from that. But I do like the idea of
can you
having
have
an
no
open
queue
world
time and have mega servers for a large non-instance like open world map? I think you could.
I mean, I don't know.
It would just be sparse.
Could be.
And well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's
I think every game does have instanced. Everything is technically instance based to some degree. It's just how big is that instance?
Yeah.
And for Guild Wars 2, I agree at this point in Guild Wars 2's life, it does feel a little smaller. They did get bigger around Path of Fire. And I just, with a new game, I wouldn't mind if it was instanced like it is now, but if instead it was more like regional based rather than like one small square in the region of, you know, the Shiver Peaks, just to increase it a bit so that you have that a stronger illusion of an open world, while still respecting the limitations of technology and server size and player population. So I'm not, of course, don't know how that would happen, but that would just be my, like, from a player's perspective, I think I would be blown away by that.
okay. Let's shifty on. So let's think. So we've got races. We were saying there'd have to be some new ones. There'd have to be like, you know.
I don't know if we talked about that.
We almost did. I asked the question and then we veered off again.
I'll jump in to iterate off of that.
Yes,
I mean,
please.
I think that at the very least, the races that we have now, but I think it would be a great opportunity as well to add in some of the ones that the community has asked for so long. You know?
Proof, is there any that come to mind?
Oh, Quaggan.
Rookery, you continue, please.
No, I mean, Quaggan,
talking.
obviously. No, Quaggan is the one I was going to say. No, I mean, whatever it would be, Tengu, or there's been so many suggestions of different ones over the years. Dwarves, I know, Jebro, that's what you're on. It would be nice to see at least one new race added in. And like we kind of touched on earlier, Guild Wars 2 does have a very good character creator, especially when you take into account all the additional hairstyles and, you know, all the colors and everything else that you can do, the customization of even some of the facial features and proportions. So I'd like to see them build off of that. I mean, Black Desert Online, I think for years has like taken the MMO trophy for like one of the best and most comprehensive CCs in a game, and in an MMORPG, I should say. So I mean, even if they don't go that extreme, I think it would still be nice to see them expand off of the sliders and other things, so that you can still have that sense of customization for your character. So yeah, I can't imagine for Guild Wars 3 that they would like bring it back to only human or something, like maybe, but to me it feels more like at the very least we would have what we have now, unless they do something totally buck wild, like we go to outer space and it's a planet with all sorts of races that we don't know anything about, or
Okay, so let's say they keep with 5 races and they want to add Tengu and some other space race. What races would you cut out from Guild Wars 2?
I personally would cut out the Asura.
Really? Even though Norn and human are just bigger.
If you have
Norn
dwarfs in,
humans?
then sure. But if not,
I would agree. I think Asura, from a writing perspective as well, I think they are oftentimes a like Deus Ex Machina race because of their intelligence, that the Asura inherently, it's okay for them to just fix everything because it is their, you know, cultural educational foundation where they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I think they have grown to become more of a fix-it bot rather than an interesting race that has like, you know, the academic rivalries and, you know, how do some people, you know, fall outside of that norm. So I would have them return to the depths now that the dragons are all done, and then they seclude themselves back into that underground.
Bye-bye.
Maybe some pop up as like character cameos or whatever, like, you know. But I think as a playable race, I would
don't
see
need
them. I could see them return to their
For me,
depths.
it's Norn.
You're getting roasted in the comments, and I'm going to watch with popcorn.
Norn? You'd get rid of Norn?
I think so. I like Norn a lot, but like if I'm sticking to my Guild Wars in Space idea, I don't see the Norn going to space. They won't fit on the ships. They're just big humans, you know. They're very
racist.
Eteria. They're very Eteria based, Norn.
I mean, it is interesting the idea of taking Asura out narratively. I mean, like I imagine they would still be in the world, but maybe just not playable. It is almost all MMORPGs for some reason seem to feel as though they have to have a small race. I guess this is a trope that kind of goes to fantasy as a greater whole, right? We see this in like D&D as well. We see this in a lot of different fantasy verses, Tolkien, the dwarves and everything else, the halflings. This idea that you have like the small races up to the like really big races. But I think traditionally those small races are usually some of the least created or played in CC. And yet I wouldn't want to see them go. Like, if anything, I would rather just see them kind of do a refresh to Asura lore. Because I do know some players that in Guild Wars 2 have jumped in on Asura and then been like really off put by some of the like weird, I don't know, sort of kind of undercurrent. I mean, they did things that were.
What are you trying to say, Rook?
They're kind of racist. It's like,
Not kinda. They're pretty racist.
there's some underlying stuff there that I know. I've had a couple friends, I had a friend who's Jewish who played and was like, I actually found this really uncomfortable. Some of them like doing experiments on other races and things. And it was like uncomfortable enough that they deleted their Asura character and like made characters of other races. So like, while I appreciate I appreciate a lot of the things that Asura bring to the table, I think that like this could be a chance to kind of like polish up, hone, and you know, maybe redesign some of the experiences of some of those races. Or sure, I mean, we could have them do a whole new set of races in the world of Guild Wars 2. Or I guess Guild Wars 3 technically, where some of those races that before we couldn't play, maybe now all of those are your offerings. But I think they'd have to still have human and you know I think people would be upset if they didn't have the ones that you could play in 2.
Okay.
And I love that no one said Char or Sylvari. Oh wait, maybe Fornax would have. Sorry.
Oh, I'm not getting. I am subtracting nothing. I am adding all the races. So Masat, all the different like branded races, all the corrupted races like the Ice Brood and the Risen. Why not? And
well, it's true. All you got to do is remove like a race storyline, right? You don't have, as long as you don't make what race you are part of the storyline, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, just use like the story kosh of we don't know who we are and where we're from. Just give us, plot armor with amnesia, and then we can be any race that you like, and then you can have different interesting side stories if they want to evolve your character and to do with your race, or that could be the subplots that they have. There's so many different races. Like we've got the Jotun, which is fascinating. We could be dropped out of time. We could be fleeing one of the fractals. We could be. There's any number of ways that we could have any race that they wanted. Of course, if there is not Lagos, they're not getting my money. But that's a separate issue. And just
Lagos. Oh, and seeing them like in a completely different, more modernized reimagining of what the Lagos would look like, not just as blue humans with attachable like aquatic stingray wings.
Did we talk before about in Guild Wars 2 the possibility of dwarf being added as a race, and all the dwarves are escapees from the from like the Wizard Tower fractal?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That's definitely what's happening in the next expansion.
I mean, if I can be a dwarf, I will never play any other game. I'll just be a dwarf running around. Okay, so races were good. What about would there be a main story in the same light? Not the same one, obviously, because there's thoughts about that. But like, but would there be traditional questing, or would there be a heart system? What would you like to see? What would you like to see, or something completely new than that you're inventing right now? What would you like to see?
I think
if you don't, this does not have to be in the limitations of a possibility. This can be just whatever. What would you like to see? Because it wouldn't be coming out for ages.
Everybody who buys Guild Wars 3 has to wear a Google Glass or a Apple Vision Pro, and all quests will be real life quests that you have to perform.
Okay.
Like, go to a soup kitchen and
Rich tries again. Anyone else?
No.
refine your armor.
I needed that thing that you stick to your chest that sets your breast on fire when you tap it.
Or you have to get a Neuralink, and then sets your breast on fire.
I'll link you to the human AI. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Anyway, sorry.
Can you give me something sensible, please? Please give me something. Someone.
Oh gosh. I mean, I just hope they have quests. I won't lie. I mean, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, considering the amount of time we've been on this podcast and been like, I really wish they just had quests. I mean, I think that's one thing that, in particular, I would really love to see in a Guild Wars 3. Guild Wars does not have to ever be the game that's like Final Fantasy XIV, where it has 50,000 paragraphs worth of text and like a massive, huge, long cutscenes nonstop. Like, it doesn't have to be that. And I know a lot of people who, in fact, really enjoy that it isn't. But as we've seen, the storytelling in the game has reached new heights from what that early experience and even what that early MMORPG genre landscape that, Guild Wars 2 was released into used to offer, right? Like, we're seeing MMOs become more cinematic. We're seeing them become more immersive narratively. We're seeing more of the RPG starting to really hook players and bring players in, especially those who maybe are not drawn initially to the MMO part of it. Maybe they come from RPGs, but now they're kind of curious because they've heard that there's good story or other good experiences to be had in games, in MMORPGs. So I really hope that they bring a little bit more of that to the forefront. Something like traditional questing, I think, would be really nice. I would also really like to see them continue to lean into the cinematics that they do, the main story stuff that they do. We've had a lot of thoughts and feedback about everything from End of Dragons. I mean, before End of Dragons, but everything from End of Dragons into Secrets of the Obscure about what's worked, what hasn't worked as well. And I personally think that whether or not they want to go more like ESO's storytelling kind of style, or they want to go really cinematic like 14. Honestly, I think Guild Wars 2 at times is already a really great hybrid of either side of those styles story-wise. So just like seeing them lean into that a little bit more and right from the get-go give us a good starting big opener to the game and big quest and get some good cinematics and things in Guild Wars 3, I think would go a really long way. And I'd like to see that with like traditional quests and stuff. It's not to say that you can't still have hearts and like area activities around the map that you can do. But
I think group events would be dynamic events, as it is in Guild Wars 2, are kind of a staple. They are so successful and they make open world content so much more engaging rather than just having like a linear questing system. But I agree, in terms of telling a story from start to finish, a questing system is probably the way to go, a more traditional questing system. They tried it with the personal story, and I also would not want to see them reattempt a multi-branching story as much as it was for Guild Wars 2, because it ultimately, I felt, was a little bit too much to bite off and ended up becoming converged into one storyline. So I would much rather experience a start to finish strong storyline with all the effort and the details that it would require.
And a side questing system can absolutely include the heart-like stuff. So
Yeah.
you could like go talk to Farmer Jane, and she says, "I need you to do these things," and you go to an area and complete them like you would complete a heart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that for me, the most important thing is immersion. And one of the things that I understand that why they've done it, but something that I don't particularly enjoy is the time-locked maps that we have. So every map is set in its own time zone, right? And it makes the world feel very static, and that is actually like the antithesis of what they wanted to do when they started Guild Wars 2.
True.
And with the limitations of the engine that they have at the moment, I don't think that they can phase it enough to actually have dynamically evolving maps. And what I would love, we're in like wild territory here, but what I would like is to feel that my presence, my actions, the things that I do in the world have a visual, a meaningful effect on the world itself. For example, right, at the moment in Divinity's Reach, you could walk into the game now, you could have walked into the game 10 years ago, and the only thing that's happened is that the collapse has been filled in. Okay, that's the only change. But the gods have fallen, they've left. Balthazar has tried to destroy humanity. We have the rise of a new god, Aurene. People would be worshipping her. She literally saved the world. And yet, there is no witness marks to this in the dialogue, in the architecture.
Divinity's Reach is very traditional. They're not gonna they're not gonna bow to some new god all of a sudden. It's only been 5 years, you know? They gotta give them time.
Johnny come lately, yeah, okay. But I would like in this new magical Guild Wars 3 to actually feel the consequences of my actions played out on the map. So that would mean that there would have to be phasing. But it would also mean that they didn't have to keep spinning up bloody new maps all the time, that you could actually have a progressive storyline. You could actually have seasonality on the map so that you can feel the passage of time and so that you can feel like you're in an immersed map. And people will say, well, what about, I want to join my friend? Well, they have join a friend with phasing at the moment. You can join in different servers. And if it's a problem with the story, I mean, we're all grown-ups playing the story. If it's your 17th time through, you just want to join your mate on that map, just a little warning, you are advancing the story. It's going to look different than when you actually play this story and you just go, okay, I'm a grown-up. I can click a button. I can accept the consequences of my actions and move forward. And that would, I think, in the long term, help replayability. But actually having big open world maps that reflect the actions of the player in an evolving world, which is like basically the dream that they wanted to have. Yeah. That would be like, take my money moment.
I entirely agree. And I'll add to this by saying it's a very small thing and it doesn't make any sense that it would necessarily be needed to be put into the game. But for some reason, I really want a game, Guild War 3 to include.
It's just a Guild War 3. Just a Guild War.
Yeah,
Guild singular war.
Exactly.
You want it to just be one?
Yeah.
It's the third Guild War.
I've had enough wars, thank you very much. Just one war.
Just one more.
To have seasonal changes like throughout the year, real life wise. So like if it's fall, all of the world where it makes sense for it to be is fall.
In that time,
that's what I meant.
In that continent as well.
Yeah.
Oh no, you mean in the world?
Sorry, what did you say? My brain literally just stopped listening. Hold on.
So you have seasons that happen in the world over a year?
Seasonality,
okay.
yeah.
Like the whole of the Guild Wars 3 world is like Stardew Valley, but in
that
real
would be
time.
great, actually.
Yeah.
Wait, so you would want it to be in real time? So when it was winter in real life? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
That would be kind of a long wait.
No. Because you'd have to wait ages for the next season.
It's a long time.
We were wild.
Maybe like over the course
You'd be
of
like
a month.
leaving content away.
Well, you want the game to end in like 10 days? No.
No, you're talking about seasons.
With the narrative. They could do it in line with the narrative.
In line with the narrative.
Yeah, not real. That would be wild.
I was like, oh my god.
You don't. what's
Or
wrong
like
with that?
a dynamic weather system might, that
Yeah.
could give you the
Also, how
illusion
would
of
you do
changing
that?
weather.
The world has different seasons at
Okay.
different times. Like Australia
Okay,
would be
no.
in
Do it.
summer, and they'd be like, "Why is it snowing?"
Wait. I have thoughts about dynamic weather because Final Fantasy, I have PTSD trying to get the fish, and you have to fish in the right place.
You do.
And the weather has to be this, and the fucking sun has to be at this point in this. No, okay, there are limits. There are limits to how immersive I really want this to be, and fish don't behave that way.
If you just complain about the fish enough, they'll just change it. So
How dark do you want nighttime to be? In Deal
dark.
Dark.
I want it to be like that one layer when you're in Kaineng City at night and you're riding on a griffin or a sky scale. There's a certain layer at which everything is really dark. You
Yeah.
go under that layer in the map, and everything at night suddenly becomes so bright. It is so strange, and I feel like they left that in there as like a remnant of what they
what
were
it should have
planning
been.
and what
Yeah.
it should have been. And then they were like, well, visibility, we're just gonna, brighten the shit out of it. And I was like, no, it was so moody. It had such atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of time cycles, seasonal cycles. I think you could do something where like time and seasons pass, faster. Like obviously,
Having seasons is a good idea,
rather than
for sure.
progressing.
Four
Yeah.
seasons every month instead of 4 seasons every year.
Yeah, something like that. Because I think otherwise people can get kind of like stymied in it, like they just feel like they're kind of stuck in it. But
Yeah,
having those kinds of responsive systems, we don't have any MMOs that really have like full on, like, Fornax, you were talking about this like full on responsive world formed by you. Like ESO tried to do something like that very early on, where if you went to like a certain zone on the original maps and you did the kind of little quest in that area, that part of the map, there were some dynamic responses with the quest there. So depending on how the quest played out, the like state of that village would look different for you on the map. Or that state of that place. Like there was one where either the whole place burns down or you save it and people kind of start to return. And it was really cool, but they stopped doing it. So I don't know if there was some issue. There were some problems where like if you were with a group and your version of that village was different than the other people's versions of that village, then like your companions would just disappear when you went into that village. I'm assuming because of some of the stuff with like the instancing and things on it. So I think that's a problem that MMOs still haven't fully been able to like completely solve. But to have some sense of, being able to explore the world, discover it, have some different outcomes and different things, or, whatever that might be, I do think would be nice just to give us a sense of like, real immersion into the world for sure.
I will say that we're actually, I mean, if they are planning to use Unreal 5, then there are a number of MMOs coming out. Dune Awakening, to mention one, which is a survival MMO, which might have a lot of dynamism in its environments. I think Ashes of Creation is on Unreal 5 as well. So they're really going to actually be able to see in real time how studios are dealing with all this and what they're able to do with the engines, and see how MMOs run on Unreal 5, because it's really an undiscovered country, right? It's untested waters.
Copy pastas are rubbish because they defeat conversations, by the way. They are like the anti-conversation because they defeat
Okay, so
conversation.
let's have a conversation about that comment.
Which one?
Arena Net has one option: with low devs, produce more than the big players. For this, ANET need replaceable. The peaceful world is over. The Cruel 3 announcement alone forces ANET to act.
It's a
That's
grandiose
stupid.
statement.
It's
It's a
stupid.
grandiose statement.
It doesn't make any sense.
Does anyone else smell toast? Because I feel like I just had a stroke listening to that.
It just sounds like a copy pasta from like a silly
I don't know.
place.
I'm not going here first. I think it's onto something. I don't know what it's onto, but it's onto something.
It's on
I
crack.
do like your performance of it, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so
weather and races.
wherever
What
races.
do we think? There's also another element. What do we think about a new game and how it should tackle combat?
That was going to be one of the things we were talking about. So good job.
Well, I guess let me pose this. Does it have the Trinity?
What the fuck?
See, I would be in that line of thinking as well. And I think in my opinion, Guild Wars 2, when it was first launching in like 2012, that was the era of everyone wanting to break the mold and be so different that they became the best game on the block. And one element about Guild Wars 2 is that there was no classic Trinity system with these roles that were like one class does this one thing. It was much more flexible. And I think that philosophy is very healthy and is very exciting because it allows you to have that flexibility. But in essence, it really came down to everyone just did damage and there was no other, customization with various roles of
just dodge,
healing or support and tanking. So
actually, there was
it was usually
toughness.
in PvP
Toughness
as well.
If you, that was the
toughness was
only
when-
reason that people would stack. One person would stack to get.
Well, that was when
to
rating
get
came
the-
out. There was a long time before rating came out.
Yeah.
And that was the same. That's existed for a long time.
But the
Did you
aggro
not
system
know
was
that?
never. The aggro system, it's not entirely
Yeah.
true because sometimes
is.
some enemies will take the place of someone who has a shield equipped.
Go test it.
Sometimes it's based on toughness. Sometimes it's based on vitality. So there is no one rule.
That's what we
as
did
to
back in
how
the day
someone-
in dungeons.
That's with certain encounters. It was so amorphous and
Was it with
so
the core?
unique. When Guild Wars 2 first came out, that
Yeah,
I
it was
think for
toughness.
Guild Wars 3, yes, but not all the
was.
time.
I'm telling you, it was.
Kroof, Jebro's calling you out.
I think Guild Wars 3 should have a much more solid idea of how they want their roles to be. And I think they know this now in modern Guild Wars 2. So I
The funny
would.
thing is,
I'd be
I really
hopeful.
do enjoy the way roles have worked out in current Guild Wars 2.
I agree.
think,
Yeah.
I think it works well. I think the only issue with it is it makes it very, very difficult to create a looking for group system that works automatically. Almost impossible. But I think the balance and the way you can make your characters for a group encounter works really well right now. So the question is, will it be a trilogy in the future, or will it be a quadrinity, a
A square.
pentadry?
Would it be a trilogy?
I think they should get rid of boons. I would like to see them get rid of boons.
I'll get rid of that
and
shit.
I think that
Hate
would.
it. Hate
I think
boons.
that would.
Awful.
That could allow for a much stronger LFG system to actually function.
Would you then have to do, the WoW thing with like unique buffs?
I could see that. I could see a more traditional buff system. I think that just tends to work. And sometimes, if it works, why try to change it?
They just don't have to have
If it
that
ain't broke, don't
many.
fix it.
They can make it
Yeah.
less. They can make they can still have the buffs. I mean, I guess there would just be boons still. But technically you just have less, but they're not so intrinsic into everything you do. So like if you don't run this, your whole team isn't like effed. Like, you need to have quickness and you need to have alacrity. And it's like, we got so many options, but then it's like, well, which is the easiest one to apply it? And then you forget that then the
right
class, the whole class
true, the right
system
boons
doesn't
makes-
actually bring into the game. It doesn't matter what you play. Like, you just bring the thing which has got the most alacrity. So you might as well just have the alacrity class. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of takes the identity away from each class, I think.
Well, no,
feeling.
that's why I'm saying I like the way Guild Wars 2 is currently balanced, in that every profession that you take from the start has the ability in some way, if you have the expansions, to give everything necessary.
It's just boring.
What's that?
It's just boring.
Can I disagree?
That's the only problem.
Absolutely.
Fornax, if you disagree with me, then no. But if you disagree with anybody else, that's fine.
I'm just gonna have to piss on your parade. So at the moment, especially in raid content, and now this is a kind of archived content, so maybe this is superfluous, but there's such an emphasis is placed on such a few people in the raid. There is so much focused pressure to be able to either do the thing that you need to do to be able to be both the healer and the... This is unheard of in any other MMO, that a single human is the healer and the tank at the same time. I mean, and everyone else is just faffing around and can like roll their face across the keyboard as long as they don't stand in the fire. That is a bit rich. Okay. I'm not...
Well, that kind of happens a lot, though. Like...
No, it's not really.
World of Warcraft is very much all the DPS has to do is do DPS. And...
Yeah, but at least there is a tank and a healer. So the tank has to stand in the right place and use his tank buster skills, and the healer has to heal all the stupid people. That's a fair split. At least there's two people carrying the raid, and not just one poor bugger stood there trying to tank Deimos and then not. Anyway. I'm not talking about my personal experience, of course. I'm not.
I feel that, though.
No. Anyway.
Go with him.
But isn't it better that way to know that? Isn't it better to know that if the raid fails, it's all on this one person rather than...
It's an easy kick. We know who to kick.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not be adverse to them defining their own definition of what they want to be composition in this game in some way, shape, or form, right? Like we've talked about a lot, there is a problem with LFG, and the fact that it does make it difficult for players to just get in and easily queue into content, right? We've seen a lot of MMOs deal with this, from the strict trinity of things like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV to the more flexible, multi-builds and things like that of ESO, where they eventually did have to hone in and at least kind of make an effort where you say, I am the tank, I am the healer, or I am the DPS when you're queuing into things. And of course, that doesn't always 100% work out, and people sometimes lie about it because there's not like another check that they do to make sure you have certain abilities that are kind of slotted in. But one way or another, I think Guild Wars 3 is going to have to think about that, because we're in an era now where being able to just queue without having to like manually go in and set up these groups and coordinate, it's a thing that players really want and expect from MMOs for their own convenience, to take some pressure off, to just keep content rolling. So I think they'll have to revamp something with it. And even if they wanted to say, sure, there are certain things that kind of make you a tank, a healer, a support, if they want to make that like a specific category, or boon giver, or whatever they want to do with it. But then I think there's going to have to be something in there that either allows you to kind of say what role you're playing in queues, or like that there are certain foundational abilities you have to have, and then you can kind of customize outside of that. Or and while I love the flexibility of builds and options in Guild Wars 2, I think in order to have robust PvE content, they have to figure out, and they really have kind of codified what you can expect from your sub squads, what you can expect from your... So I think we just need to see the game systems actually kind of reflect that in a way that is like communicated to players, that has a kind of built-in system for that. And that would be something that I think they're going to need to really kind of figure out for Guild Wars 3, if they are going to include PvE content in it,
Yeah. I mean, it's not about the politic of having someone has to be the tank or the healer. It's about how they structure encounters to make them understandable and transparent to players, and then how and that simple system allows for such diversity of content. Now, of course, you can add all sorts of unique mechanics for individual bosses, and there's a lot of that happens, especially in Final Fantasy XIV. And if you don't press the space bar enough, you can wipe an entire raid. I've never done that, clearly. But it's not about elitism. It's not about elitism. It's just about having like a clear structure for the development.
You can't be elitist
kind of
if you wipe a raid, though, can you, Phonics?
Oh, you could.
I've wiped in World of Warcraft. I wiped an entire raid with a mini. So don't test me, bitches.
amazing.
Okay.
I need to hear that story.
God.
Okay.
Oh wow.
All right. We got the. I'm not really giving a lot of my thoughts. I'm listening mostly today. I'm just listening, but because
What are your thoughts, Jebro?
I don't know, but they're okay.
Okay.
I mean, of course they are. But like, I think for combat, and all of, I think I agree with what Rookery says. If whatever they're gonna do, they just have to make sure that people can hook into the systems in an easy way, in a more accessible way, right? Because that is the problem. I mean, they make their game so accessible, but they also make it very inaccessible as well. It's like, play our game by not paying much for it, but all of our questing is locked behind achievements that you'll never know about. all of our dungeons are dead, and you can't really queue up for them unless you go to an LFG and get a group started and then wait for a long time. And it's not automatic either, so that's really difficult to kind of get going. You can join groups, and that's cool. But like, also, there's a main story, and there's expansions, and there's living story, and then I have to pay extra for that, and then it's also disjointed, and it's all so confusing that
I think
that
Guild
is
Wars
something
3
that they need to have lined out from the get-go, right? Like, this is how we're gonna do it. And sure, if we're going to change it up, that's fine. But like this living world stuff and that, all of that. But basically, dungeons, everything else, just make it accessible so that if you have these systems that come in the future, it's easy to pick up. You understand it, and it's not Destiny 2. Because that is the thing. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Where you're like, what is happening in this game? Why am I here? And what? Like, they just deleted most of the game. It was just, it was wild.
I think Guild Wars 3 will not have living world seasons.
No, it won't.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we've gone away from that already.
Yeah, think so, right?
Hotter take.
Whoa.
What if Guild Wars 3 goes back to the paradigm of the original game in Guild Wars 1, where you had henchmen, where you could do, like in Final Fantasy 14,
that was a hot
you have
take.
NPCs.
I mean, companions are fine, yeah. I mean, ESO has
I think it'd be
companions.
fun,
Other
actually.
MMOs have companions as well. Companions is fine. I don't want to see a 4-person running around team in an instance again.
Well,
That's not my
I know
jam.
that's what they do, so that players can either use the LFG or use NPCs to basically make the MMO more into an RPG, a solo experience.
Oh, in the dungeons. They do that in WoW now,
Yes,
don't
exactly.
they, as well?
Yeah, I think that
have
would be
introduced
great.
Oh,
that.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's well,
I honestly
They
think
would
they
definitely have to
should.
reintroduce it off the bat. Because I think the reason why they're not introducing it now in Guild Wars 2 is because it's like playing into the idea that it's a dead game or whatever. It's like, oh, they have to introduce AI because people can't form parties anymore. So they're not going to do it in Guild Wars 2. But if they introduce it off the
They
bat,
could still do it in Guild Wars 2.
if they introduce it off the bat in Guild Wars 3, then it's not an issue. That frame of mind doesn't exist.
I actually think, in hindsight, letting go of the henchman system from Guild Wars 1 into Guild Wars 2 was kind of a missed opportunity at really creating their dungeons and their other endgame systems to be much more attainable and also have a little bit more longevity, and then use that as a vehicle for players to then group up for more difficult encounters like fractals or raids. So I agree. I think seeing modern gaming like Final Fantasy 14 especially, that was like the first MMO that I saw where you could go into dungeons with a full party of AI allies, is a really cool idea, because sometimes you don't want to have to deal with people, even if you are a hardcore gamer and you just want to go and do a story dungeon or complete this quest that you have to go into a dungeon for, which could be really interesting. So I think that is a beautiful idea. I think that's a great thing to point out for Nox, is like the henchman system.
But the one problem is that, in Guild Wars 1, having the henchmen is possible because you could program them to do quite a bit of things. But I feel like the fact that it didn't have verticality in the game helped the design of the henchmen. It made them not. You don't have to program them to be extremely good. But in Guild Wars 2, and I'm guessing in Guild Wars 3, with the ability to jump, with the ability to do certain things that you weren't able to do in Guild Wars 1, they can design encounters to be more intricate and more interesting that I don't think you could program an AI to do.
I don't know. I mean,
But they already do it, Boots.
They do really well.
They're already doing it.
Don't
And even
follow your stola. That's all you have to do. Don't follow your stola and you'll be fine.
They already do it.
Yeah.
even playing like Dragon's Dogma 2, seeing how the AI operate in, of course, it's a different game, a single player game, but having
Still
a
same.
party
Yeah.
of AI players or AI allies, they have a good sense of. They seem to have a good sense of when to climb, when to move, and they seem to stay out of danger for the most part. So
Okay.
I'm not
All right.
quite sure as to how AI and NPC allies, how that technology has progressed, but I can only imagine it's going to continue to get better and better.
Oh, it will be end
mean-
very quickly as well, right? That's the thing.
I mean, I use it in 14 because as a healer, I don't want
To
there's a
widen
lot
the
of
range,
pressure on
yeah.
you when you go in.
Sorry.
So I'll go in with an AI. I'll put a safety Dorito over one of the range classes, and you can literally just follow them to learn where you're supposed to stand, what the mechanics are, and everything. And it's kind of one, you get a lot of little NPC chatter, which is nice, and it enriches their characters. Two, it takes the pressure off you, especially if you're trying to tank and heal, because these they're not AIs. It's never AI. It's algorithms. These algorithms know where to stand, how to do, what the moves are, and everything. I mean, there's one when you have to set something on fire, which I died so many times at, but it works really. You know the one I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. The furniture pieces where you have to light them on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's terrible. But I think that's great, and it solves some of the problems that people who are more hesitant. Who are more hesitant to do group content, especially in big open MMOs, because gamers we can sometimes have a bit of a bad reputation. It's astonishing we do, but it happens. And so I would like to see that. Honestly, I would like to see that introduced in Guild Wars 2. I don't think that would be a bad thing if they could just get the NPCs to not stand in the fire. But I honestly, I think it would be a nice throwback to Guild Wars 1, and I think it's an acknowledgement that there is such a diversity of people who play MMOs. It's not just the hardcore raiding 5 nights a week. It's not just the social butterflies who want to do it. It kind of levels the playing field, and I think that would be great. But the number one thing before that they have to not bring over from Guild Wars 2 is the Fashion Wars tax. That has to go away. No tax
You're
on
talking about-
fashion, no
Yeah.
transmutation charges, no total makeover kits, no none of that. Just
I love
allow
how
people
you-
to modify their character.
You linked your
So
point
you're
so
asking for
well.
subscription fee.
You just went
Thank
from
you.
like dungeon AI to like fashion.
You
Like
said,
your
but
two
I
biggest
will
default
also
things.
say,
Yes.
I would
I-
also like to add.
That's a talent right
Look,
there.
I've got ADHD. I've got to say things when they happen in my
I
brain.
mean,
and
I'm
gone for
following
hours.
you. That's what I'm
Please
talking
forgive me.
about. I'm with you. It's all good.
No, I love it.
My brain is there as well. That's why. Impressive. That is the talent of the ADHD right there. I get it. I love it. Okay. All right. We've been going for. We're getting towards 2 hours, so we're gonna start to like get towards maybe the end of the podcast, but also towards the end of a game. Like in Guild Wars 2, you level to 80, but then it ends. Would a Guild
ends.
Wars 3? I mean, well, it doesn't end, but like then it turns into horizontal. Would it be a thing where Guild Wars 3 could do leveling in a completely different way? Would it be a max level of
Guild Wars
8
1
and extended by so much every so often, maybe an expansion? Or would it be more of a you're always leveling forever, like in other MMORPGs where your level never ends and it's just grinding? No.
In Guild Wars 1, you're level 20 at your max level. Guild Wars 2 is level 80, so Guild Wars 3 is clearly going to be level 140. It's just simple
Absolutely.
math.
That's logic.
Go.
Flawless.
Yeah.
Good.
Unless you count it as like, what was it, Guild Wars 2 is unless it's times 4. Unless you're timesing it by
unless it's
4.
times 4. Good point.
And then we go into like what? 320.
320.
Or to the
Unless you
power
go
of 3.
420. Sorry.
What if it's to the power of 3?
Oh,
Exactly.
shit.
Difficult.
420. Is that something to do with marijuana? Is that
420?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
It's an American thing.
I'm down with all this stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I only learned it really when I came over here. It was it's interesting.
I think the number of levels that you have in a game is such an interesting topic because ultimately it's kind of arbitrary because it's all dependent on how much the developers give you XP and at what rate and if there are any modifiers to that. So it's inconsequential for Guild Wars as a game.
Yeah.
So I think like it depends on like what number do you think is just satisfying, and I would like to see them stick with that kind of philosophy of horizontal progression rather than always chasing a level. But I also understand how that's like it's kind of nice when like a new expansion launches and you have like some levels to get or something new to get.
I actually don't mind.
But they don't need to tie that to levels. They could just tie that to the classes.
That makes me really think back to Guild Wars 2 when it first came out. Because Guild Wars 1 was different. You got to level 20 relatively, not fast, but you got to it. And then there was story afterwards. There was stuff afterwards to do at level 20. Guild Wars 1, the story ends basically when you're level 80.
Guild Wars 2.
You're talking about 2?
Guild Wars 2, yeah. Guild Wars 2 ends basically when you're level 80. You spend the entire story leveling up, and you spend the entire story leveling up and not having a complete build. And then when Guild Wars 2 first came out, there was not really an end game before Fractals came out.
It was just redoing dungeons and doing temple runs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And 1v1.
Yeah. So
temple runs for guild for gold. For the champions and also for the gear sets because there was healing sets and there were like toughnesses. And that's where you got like sentinels from and shit. I can't remember. Way back.
Yeah.
I used to do that all the time. I actually kind of enjoyed that. I missed doing those runs.
I would pick
so long story short, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that the original design of Guild Wars 2 when it first came out was flawed in its level design, I think.
Yeah, I mean it was. I think time has told us that they didn't really do it.
Guild Wars 2 came out before it was ready.
Yeah.
And we all know that,
probably,
right? It was not. It was rushed.
I mean, it was ready. Like it was playable, and it was a good experience.
It wasn't what they wanted to release at the time.
Ideally, when you make a game,
it wasn't done
where your character is only complete at a certain point.
Yeah.
You need to be able to spend a good amount of time at that complete stage and get the benefits of it. And Guild Wars 2 when it first came out didn't really give you that.
Yeah. I think if they had like 50 levels, but then had the same amount of story to level 80, I think that would have been a much more like, oh, this is what it's like to play my character at maximum level with all the abilities and all the talents and really continue to get into the story.
And don't forget, an MMORPG doesn't necessarily launch with the intention of that being the entire experience, right? Because a launch of an MMORPG is almost a beta. is almost you're almost in that mindset because then it gets shaped because so many people have access to the world. Like you haven't had that testing in a consistent amount of time for a long time, and then you start to work out what is it that people really want, what they're engaging in, and where do we shift to? Which is what they did. And they went to raids, and they went to expansions, and they went to mounts, and they went to the classic things that people still wanted. But they just did it in their own way, right? So, like, that's what happened. They never had the intention to do any of those things whatsoever. They said they would never do these things.
Probably Guild Wars 2, in my opinion, Guild Wars 2 didn't really finalize what it was until like Path of Fire. I think that's when they really knew what Guild Wars 2 would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. People do really praise and enjoy the fact that you know, if we look at like level, right? So like level cap, but we also look hand in hand with things like eye level, which is also kind of another form of progression systems that they sort of did away with in Guild Wars 2. It's tough because I like on one hand that all content is tuned to the same kind of thing so that theoretically even old content can still be run. And the ability to be able to just, you know, get that gear, get your legendaries. I mean, even being able to like craft all the legendaries in Guild Wars 2 and then have those legendaries in Guild Wars 3 would be amazing. Even if it was just cosmetic, I don't know. I think that would be something that would be really cool, especially with some of the additional things that they've worked in Guild Wars 2 for them. But like, I like having some of the pressure off of the gear grind. But like everybody's saying, having something to continue to work towards, having new skills and other things that are like related to your class or your class's journey, the equivalent of kind of what we got were like elite specializations, which add a new play style to your class. So that even if you're not getting like new abilities with each expansion and having the level cap go up, you are technically getting other abilities and something else that you can use or access on your class. But we've also seen them kind of take a bit of a step back from that in Guild Wars 2 with how frequently they may be releasing those with this new cadence and other things. So it always kind of leads in this big circle, no matter what you're doing, to the fact that like eventually you might run out of ideas. You might need to stat squish. You might need to do something else. So I wouldn't mind in Guild Wars 3 still seeing something like having the elite specializations that continue to branch out different types of playstyle for classes. I don't personally mind too much if they didn't want to do extended, like, you know, get new levels every single time, as long as there's something like that. And as long as we have our horizontal progression systems. But, you know, with stuff like the gear grind and things, I think somewhere in these elements, they're going to have to change at least one of them. You know, I think to give players something to continue to work towards, whether that's eye level, whether that is level caps, and maybe they streamline more about how they're doing that, or, you know, you get skill trees as opposed to elite specializations, and they continue to kind of add new things to those. I don't know, but I think something will need to shift within that to give some additional impetus for, you know, progression in the game.
I don't think they could add eye level to Guild Wars 3 if they have Asura still in it, just because their eye level is always going to be so much lower than Norns.
I like what they're doing in Ashes of Creation, and also there's some other what game is it? But like they're doing where the world is, you have different factions, and New World a little bit as well, but they've not done it well at all, unfortunately. Where you have the ongoing kind of tug of war of different regions being controlled by different factions, and then you have like those stories intermixed in there of different guilds and people in charge, and then constructing cities, and then so you have that kind of sandboxy element. But, you know, also just put Guild Wars 2 housing in and we're sorted. So, you know,
hey, there we go.
We'll end it
you
there.
Know what? I think we can just end it there. Guild Wars 3, all we need is housing.
I mean, honestly.
and hopefully, Fornax mentioned it previously, perhaps they're going to actually have Guild Wars in the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Maybe.
So we've just been talking very joyfully and bantery? I don't know. About Guild Wars. What if Guild Wars 3? But for the majority of it, it's Guild Wars 2 is still here, so go play it. And it's still pretty damn good.
Oh, it'll be here for a while.
And we'll still be talking about Guild Wars 2 for a number of years to come on this podcast as well, as long as everyone's here, I guess, depending on what happens in the world.
Yeah. Proof will be 30 by the time the game comes out, at least.
Damn.
Probably. Yeah, oh my goodness. You're gonna be.
What do you mean, no?
No, that just
You're gonna be over the hill.
that like shot into my spine and like through my heart. That like
Yeah, you're right.
that hit my soul.
Yeah.
No, I was just like,
Yeah, none of us. Yeah, gosh. Being
no,
over
no,
30
no,
is
no.
so
I'm just thinking like
gross.
about time.
Why would we
You
ever
have-
be over 30? That's terrible.
Y'all
I
ever just
started
think
creating
about time?
content was like 31.
Y'all ever just think about time? Not the
42.
seasoning, but like y'all ever think about time? Like I was 10. I was
Proof,
11 when I was talking about Guild Wars 2.
Welcome to starting to know that you are not going to live forever because you are in that stage of life where you will not. I'm sorry.
Only 2 more years and then my brain will finally settle into its cranium, and then I'll have like a completely different like.
And then you
approach to
start
life,
dying.
maybe. It is crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy. Oh, no, that's been happening. But it's crazy to think like I was that young when I was looking at alpha and demo footage of Guild Wars, being so like enthralled.
Oh my god.
And wondering what this thing will become, and now it's like potentially starting a whole new chapter when I'm much more of a conscious, cognitively aware person.
It's pretty wild.
Fully formed reasoning centers. You're going to enjoy them. Honestly, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I promise.
Pretty wild.
Also, I cried when I turned 30, so if you need a hug, let me know. It'd be okay. I'm here for
I'm
you.
gonna be hitting you all up, be like, I need help.
God. Okay, so everyone,
There
thank
is
you.
life after 30.
There is.
Just
I
about.
promise. It's good. It's good. Honestly, I've enjoyed it. It's been even better, I think, than
Having parents who are much older than myself, I know there's so much more life to live and vitality.
Oh my god, hold on a second. Is it possible?
What?
It is possible that your parents are the same age as some people on this podcast, isn't it?
Oh God, don't say that.
Probably
Why would
older.
you do
No, they're
this?
Probably
older.
older.
Oh my
I
god.
will come to
My
Canada.
parents had my brother and I when they were.
Come to Canada, and I will
When they were
find
what?
you.
I'm not there right now, so that's fine.
Yeah, my parents, they had my brother and I when they were like, quite well into their midlife. So. They're
Well,
the
there you go then.
generational-
So yeah,
What do you define as the midlife, Kroof?
Like
That is important.
around 50.
yeah, 50 is about mid.
All right,
Okay,
fine.
okay.
Fine.
Yeah. With the best outlook on life, we should all live to at least 100, you know? Reach that 3-digit, you know?
When I get towards
Yeah,
midlife,
let's
midlife
try
will be
for it.
older anyway. So you know, that's the most important thing. Also, all you got to do is when you get older, if you're worried about greys, just shave your head. No one can see it. Also, we grow. Don't forget, we grow older. So as you get older, you are always growing, people.
Yeah.
We're always growing.
I think gray hair is beautiful. You know what?
I'm excited to get gray
I
hair.
like getting older. I'm actually fine with it, other than the kind of aching parts.
I don't care for the aching parts. That has
don't
really
either.
been unfortunate, and
Yeah,
I really
that
wish that
happens
could
more.
stop.
And more peeing when you go to bed. It's not good. That's
could
what
be a
happens, people.
prostate
When you get
thing.
older, you start to need to pee more when you go to bed. It happens. It happens. This is what the doctor said to me. They were like, I was like the whole sleeping thing. It really sucks. I've really always had like. I'm really sharing a little bit too much right now, but
You piss boy. You
But
little
they
piss
were like-
boy.
well, the thing is, it's like, you know, that just happens when you get older. Like things start to kind of go a bit pear shaped, and you start to
Change.
like, you know, your body changes, and you need to do other things, and it's fine.
Let's
You
get
just
away.
learn.
Specifically, the pee thing is it because like your bladder?
Why are we
gets,
hanging
like,
on this?
Not as toit.
I mean, I don't know.
Wait,
And
You gotta
so-
do some Kegels,
right.
Jebro. You gotta.
Bladder kegels.
No, that's what they said to me. I'm so
I
sorry.
did not have on my Lightbringers bingo card today. Kroof calling Jebro a little piss.
I actually did have that on my card.
Bingo! 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 Bingo!
Like, incredible.
That was your last square that you needed.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, so everyone, get a colostomy bag, and I'll see you next week.
Oh my god.
Jesus God.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, you can be.
Wonderful.
Sometimes you could be
Yeah,
at the whole time.
Jeff, I feel like that's your new catchphrase or go-to whenever we say something so off the wall, you truly don't know how to respond to it. You just like look in the camera like you're in the office and just go, wonderful.
I think I'm gonna use that. I think I'm gonna do it.
Stunning.
Wonderful. That is so good.
Wonderful.
It's happening. I think I've got a few of those. That's great. That's great. Oh yeah, I can't
This
say
stream
that.
has some good highlights.
Oh dear, I've missed you all very much. It's been a bit.
Fornax reading the dog shit out of stock, bro.
Oh god, that was funny.
We got Boots talking about eye levels on Asura. We got come down to this. Come down. We got entertainment.
But as you were saying, because I did want to emphasize this myself too. So let me like circle us back to it. Guild Wars 2 is still here for so long. Like they have.
It's gonna be forever.
It seems like they just straight up haven't like. If it is something that has been greenlit, it has like literally just been greenlit, and there's no real full-on production for it as far as any of us can tell. I mean, of course, there were some rumors about a possible Horizon MMO coming from Guild Wars 2. And then when this came out, people were like, maybe that was Guild Wars 3 all along. But it does not seem to be the case. So I wouldn't worry, everybody. Like, there's still a lot to be excited about. And this was not something that they announced of their own accord in the media cycle. And then, you know, like this was something that was told to shareholders. Likely as a way, just like, you know, we saw mentioned in the wonderful video that Fornax did, right? As a way to, you know, convince them that there is a financial future for this game and this franchise. So I would not worry. I would not panic. I wouldn't be like, there's no reason to play Guild Wars 2. We still have many expansions to come. We have a new one coming this year. And I'm sure they've been listening to a lot of the feedback and a lot of the things the community has been saying, even about Soto. And so, I mean, we just gotta keep waiting to see. And who knows? They might very well do something where they lead Guild Wars 2 into Guild Wars 3. But one thing is for sure, we definitely, like, Guild Wars 2 still has so much ahead of it and so many good things and so much fun to be had. And will no doubt lead into Guild Wars 3 in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, don't drop it just yet, because really you might be waiting a very long time for Guild Wars 3.
True.
Excellent.
True.
We are leaving. That's it. We're done. That was a good. I don't need to say anything else. I don't think, other than go and watch the Lightbringers podcast on YouTube or Twitch every 2 weeks or every week, maybe, depending. I might do a show next week. I'm just gonna think about what it's gonna be about. There's loads of stuff. Still got to play through all the story. We were doing that. We did that. And then it didn't happen.
I've thought of a title for the episode though, right? On YouTube. Failing executive fillets shareholders with nonsense. Yes.
That could fit.
I like it.
That could fit.
Yep.
You have to message
We
me
can get
that.
some more alliteration in that.
Yeah.
I'll put Guild Wars 3 though, probably.
Yeah, probably put that in there somewhere.
Just do Guild Wars 3.
I feel like this is why my videos aren't doing well. Okay, I'll have a think. I'll have a think about my clickbait titles.
Wonderful.
It's all about the algorithm.
Hey.
The you gotta get that SEO up in there, the search engine optimization.
Kroof, tell us what you do, where you do it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Kroof. Happy birthday.
I'll be sending you my ear doctor bill tomorrow. Hi everyone, my name is Kroof. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, and I also stream here on Twitch occasionally. But it's kind of like it's kind of like the eclipse. It comes around every like so often. You gotta just be prepared. You might have to put on some.
Sounds like something else other than the eclipse.
Ooh, I don't know what that meant, but we're gonna go with it. But thank you so much for having me on today. It has been lovely to spend my birthday with all my friends, and it's so fun talking
All
about
of
things
your
that
friends.
we like. Literally, you guys are it.
All my
Thank
friends
you.
and also Boots was there.
But yeah, I'm excited to have a nice night tonight, and I will be thinking of y'all, and I'll catch y'all around this
I
weekend.
mean, you better be thinking
Maybe
about
streaming probably.
Remember
yeah,
to give
do
us
it.
an update about what drink you chose.
I'll take pictures. I will update y'all.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Instagram. Do
Barman's
it.
reach. Barman's reach. Do it. Do it.
Boots, That's what you do, ain't it?
Take advantage of that while you can. It's you just truly, yeah.
Really.
Sorry.
I make some videos over on YouTube at World of Enders. I'm almost done my adventure quest. I got like 19 left, I think. Also, I'd like to plug a podcast that I am not a part of, but a friend of a friend's did it, and I think it's over now. But I just remembered it from a few years ago.
Good Lord,
very
Boots.
Good.
Good Lord.
It's for the Brits out there. It's called Victoriosity. And it's like one of those old radio plays, kind of like that, but as a podcast. And it's about an alternate past in the 1800s where London is like takes up half of England, and and the Queen
feels like that.
And the Queen is a immortal robot with and it's Queen Victoria, and it's very good. It's like steampunk detective comedy.
Are you riffing right now?
Great outro, Boots. Fornex. Fornex, where can we find you?
Hey, I'm Fornex. I have a podcast recommendation. It's called Infinite Monkey Cage. Actually a thing. Awesome.
Victoriosity is also a thing.
Mm-hmm. You said you were riffing. I
is.
can't tell. Anyway, please go and watch my saucy video about shareholders and capitalism. And I'm currently editing my wish list for features for Guild Wars 3. That'll be up on the channel in the next couple of days. So, yeah.
I'm gonna get banned from your chat really quickly.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job.
Dick pic again? No? What?
Again.
Next. Crichton Herald. Sorry, Rookery. Wait, did you sell your channel, Fornex, or did you? I don't know anymore.
Don't go to my channel. Carry on. It's fine.
Please go to Fornex's channel, the Crichton Herald. Hey everybody, I'm Rook. I don't really have a podcast recommendation except for this podcast with the other one I do, Outtro Radio. But you can find me on my Twitch at Rookery, ROOKURI. You can find me on YouTube at the same, and you can find me on Twitter at Rookery_. You can also find me casting and hosting a variety of different events for different games that we love. And that's it. The
Nice.
end. Wonderful.
Thank you, Rook, so much. Oh my God. Jesus wept. Bloody hell.
Wonderful.
That was wonderful. Oh my God.
And I think I'll also take this time to plug a few more things.
Ryan's just banning you. I'm just kicking Boots from the call. I think we're gone. All right, Lightbringers. We'll see you next week. YouTube, Spotify, all the things. Make sure to check it out. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to subscribe or chuck a review of this or follow or do whatever, muchly appreciated. If you want to suggest something we talk about in the future, would appreciate that as well. Likes, comments, subscriptions, follows. Check that out. Description for all of the links to the people. And we'll see you next time on the Lightbringers podcast. Gotta find the button. Go button!
I'm rifting.